Hello, welcome to the jungle discussion. I am Mrs. Morin, and I'm here with
Mrs. Wyatt.
and we're going to go ahead and talk about this piece that you see on the screen here. The artist is Wilfredo Lamb, and the title is The Jungle. So what we're looking at here, sorry about that, what we're looking at here is from the modern historical period, and the techniques used, this is actually gouache, which is similar to watercolor. It's just opaque.
Yeah, and kind of like tempera paint, but
Yes.
maybe a higher quality.
Yes.
Yeah.
On paper, and it's mounted onto canvas. Do you want to go ahead and start with the intended purpose, Ms. Wyatt?
Yes, I think that he was very interested in showing how the actual people in Cuba were living, because it was kind of like a Disneyland for adults during that particular time. And people would go there and be on the beaches, and they thought about the country more as a place to party. Mm-hmm. And that there were actually people living there, and how those people's lives were being impacted by that.
Yes. And Lamb, he's from Cuba originally. Yes. The idea of this painting is basically to try to it's almost like a protest painting for anti-colonization.
Yes.
And because of that, the intended audience was actually the exploiters. And it says on here, there's a quote that I'd like to read, that Lamb says, "I refused to paint cha-cha-cha. I wanted with all my heart to paint the drama of my country, but by thoroughly expressing the Negro spirit. In this way I could act as a Trojan horse, and that would spew forth hallucinating figures with the power to surprise, to disturb the dreams of the exploiters. I knew I was running the risk of not being understood, either by the man in the street or by the others, but a true picture has the power to set the imagination to work, even if it takes time."
Yes.
So
that sums it up.
Yeah. I mean, he obviously understood that, people in his own country may not even get it, but
Correct.
it wasn't really for them, because they know.
Right.
They know what Cuba is.
Right.
So the perception, this painting is a game of perception. So let's go ahead and look at it real fast. And this is done in a few different ways. One
Yes.
way is through perspective. So we see here that we have kind of a shifting perspective, similar to that of Cubism.
Correct.
And then, do you want to go ahead and talk about how it also, how maybe in a more metaphorical
Well, the whole
sense?
idea of Cubism is to perceive things more naturally than what you would in a photograph. That people think that photography is reality, but it's not. And so the concept of Cubism is to show different things at different angles and times, and the shifting of the eye that happens. And so, yeah, you're going to look at a vase from the front, but you're going to look at it from the top and from the side, and so on. So what you're seeing here is people from all different perspectives, and they're just kind of thrown in there. Mm-hmm. So it's more of a real experience if you're really thinking about how we experience the world.
Yes, and one thing I liked that you said before is that there's a lot of tension in this piece.
Yes, there is.
And, we're meant to look at it and feel like it's, we're moving through this ceremony, the Santeria ceremony.
Right.
But we're also supposed to feel how chaotic it must have been.
And it would. Because the drums would be drumming,
yes,
and the fires would be going, and people would be dancing and singing, and there would come into hallucinations that would happen, and it would get the heat, just the heat of all of this would be oppressive.
Yeah.
So I think that he definitely wants you to feel that enclosed tightness that would happen in a group like this.
Yes, I agree. And then the last question on here is how surrealists aim to basically release the unconscious mind. When we're thinking about this painting and this idea of Santeria and how this fits into surrealism, we're basically trying to, your unconscious mind, we're trying to bring back those fears, those desires that you hold in your, hold back from showing people.
The primordial id.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, the lizard.
The lizard brain, exactly. But he's using Santeria, he's using this kind of shifting perspective style to take you out of the rational.
Yes.
And bring you into your subconscious.
Right. And let's not forget to at least mention the sugar cane.
Yes.
That is in it, because the sugar cane was one of the things that caused so many problems, because it was a crop that was brought in. It's not natural to the jungle, but it was brought there, and sugar was very, very expensive. All the way back to colonization, they would actually lock it up, like in chests, so that you would only use tiny little bits because it's always been so expensive. But sugar caused a lot of the oppression of these people, and they're forced to work in bad conditions, and with the machetes there would be a lot of cutting off of fingers and arms because they would work so long and get so tired that it really did cause a lot of problems within the people.
And that's who this painting is meant to be criticizing. The people who owned the sugar were not the Cubans.
No.
It was actually the businesses that were in the United States.
Correct.
So they were exploiting the Cuban people for profit.
Right. So the painting has a lot to do with social injustice, which is something that we could really tie to nowadays.
Yes.
With all the things that are happening politically with social injustice.
Indeed. Yeah, it seems to be something that recurs in history quite often.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think that just about does it for the jungle, and I hope you enjoyed.